Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here in Abu Dhabi. And I'm also excited to join Blockchain World. As it was mentioned, I'm Maria Vovchok, Ambassador of Blockchain Association of Ukraine. Probably also I have heard that I already am organizing as well blockchain conferences here in Dubai. And I'm also co-hosting them quite often, and I'm hosting them. So in that case, if you're coming to Dubai, definitely find me on social media because we can discuss it like in more detail. And today, as it was mentioned, I'm really excited to discuss the future, but not only of blockchain, but also other market disruptors. Because to be honest, I believe we definitely have much more interesting in the future new technologies, not only blockchain. Blockchain is the most exciting for me as well. This is the part what I got into, I feel the most excited about, but I also feel I really like how it is in this perspective where the synergies with other technologies. So for this, as it was mentioned, we have our amazing panelists. So Alaa, Dalghan, MD of Cognite DX, a boutique consultancy firm specializing in IoT, digital transformation, smart cities. Sheraz, Ahmed, your bridge to Switzerland cryptocurrency and blockchain ecosystem through his roles at the Crypto Valley Association and Storm Partners. And the last but not least, Mamadou Toure, founder at Ubuntu Tribe, top 30 blockchain influencers by HackerNoon, and top 10 influencers in Africa, according to Forbes. Thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, we were supposed to also have, an additional one lady in blockchain, but unfortunately, Yael could not join us today. I believe that she would love to. She is so knowledgeable as well. And maybe she will, by some time, will come till the end of our panel. But meanwhile, first question is, of course, I would say, we'll start from this. You know, every year, there's so-called Disruptor Awards, which is in this case is given to the biggest disruptors in the world. So if you could right now outline the main trends which could be given this award, the top disruptors in 2021, this is the end of the year. Which trends would it be? Which industries are like the biggest disruptors in the world? Who'd like to start?
Yeah. Okay. Sure. So I don't know if I'd give it necessarily to a person, but maybe to a thing. I mean, if COVID-19 had a figurehead, I definitely would give it to that person.
But it was in 2020. Still.
Yeah, but I think still because I think it's definitely accelerated the space that we're in here today and the space of many other people. The digital space as a whole. It's one whereby whenever I speak to someone, they're always telling me, yeah, I mean, we would have never got to where we are if it hadn't been for this need to kind of become more digitalized. So that's definitely where I would place it.
Understood. Alaa?
For me, since we're talking in a blockchain conference, I will pick a blockchain winner for Best Disruptor of the Year. And for me, it's Theta TV. Theta.tv, they are disrupting video streaming. And we've always had YouTube, we've always had Spotify for podcast streaming, we've always had Netflix, but they were centralized and they were censored. And on the other side, we always had BitTorrent, but it was illegal and it was malware-ridden and virus-ridden. What Theta.tv are doing is they are decentralizing video streaming in a democratized way, but providing an incentive for people to act in an honest way by rewarding streamers and people who are watching the streams with crypto coin. So they're creating a merge of BitTorrent, decentralized technology, meet Netflix and YouTube and Spotify. And for that, I think they would deserve my vote.
Okay, but in this case, maybe in this case, Mamadou, you may mention not only one.
Yeah, I have one.
Top. Oh, again, one. Okay.
Yeah, for me,
your favorite.
It's going to be Elon Musk. I'll tell you why. He won it all this year.
So we were talking about like people disruptors.
Yes,
in this
I'll
case.
tell you why. Besides being the Time Magazine Dude of the Year, he happens to just make a tweet, and all your analytics, trading, provisions, etc., goes to the roof, right? That's a way to disrupt the market that is extremely powerful, right? But it also reminds us how much there is influence and emotion into that industry. right? So that's why we chose to more go for gold that is more stable and less likely to high fluctuations or to somebody to come and say, okay, buy this or do this. But I give all the credit to Elon Musk. He went to the moon, he built those cars, and he makes the market with one tweet. So much respect.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to comment on that. I mean, it's quite fantastic that people I've actually created trading bots that are like Elon Musk trading bots. Whenever he tweets something, and they
anticipate. Yeah.
It's quite crazy.
By the way, but generally, I really like how this is going. So blockchain, we could expect. I would not COVID. I could expect, but I would not expect Elon Musk. Of course, despite the fact that he recently won Person of the Year. But nevertheless, let's go dive deep into, as far as we mentioned blockchain, and as far as I mentioned earlier today, that not only blockchain, but with the synergy with other technologies, which are like the future-driven, they can also create an impact in the world with IoT, with AI, which we observed for the last years. So from your perspective, what do you see, which impact it will have on the future? And for example, in case of Alaa, it's with smart cities applications. Can you dwell upon this, please?
Yeah, beautiful question. Thank you. Yes, blockchain on its own is adding a lot of value into many industries. But when it comes with other emerging technologies, such as IoT and AI, it becomes 10 times more powerful. And we're seeing examples of that in real-life cases from around the world. I would mention a couple of examples. Helium is trying to combine IoT network and IoT towers with blockchain. So instead of relying on telecom operator to set up IoT network towers and antennas, Helium are incentivizing people to set up their own people's network for IoT. And they will get paid in crypto, in HNT, for providing the service, and clients would pay them in HNT. So they are democratizing IoT networks, and they're planning to do the same for telecom networks. If you talk about emeralds, they're doing connected smart trash bins, where people are incentivized with crypto to recycle and to be clean and to preserve the cleanliness of the city. If you look at how IoT sensors are being installed on shipments, going all around the world and linked to smart contracts to facilitate trade finance and supply chain and logistics. All of these are examples of how technologies can come together.
By the way, yeah, please comment on each other.
You know, when we speak about IoT and AI and all those things, we need to remember what internet is made of, right?
Yeah.
Internet is made of 4 things, okay? Computing capacity, storage capacity, applications that run on it, and the network that makes it go from A to B, right? So as much as we're going to jump on IoT, we need to also think a decentralized internet. And decentralized storage, decentralized computing. And companies like Threefold Tech, for instance, have already built a whole decentralized internet platform that allows information to stay local without having to clutter. And others like Compute Coin also have key technologies to kind of go and take the computing capacity. Because once you put the metaverse, you put the IoT, internet will explode, which is a good thing if it does. But let's not make sure it happens by ensuring that the decentralized internet effectively serves the people where they are without having all those clutters that will not make it work. Now, the capacity of the metaverse, everybody is building their own metaverse. Think of how it's impossible with the infrastructure today. And some people like Christoph the Spiegeler are actually thinking and anticipating the next 10 years. Watch them.
Yeah, Sheraz, your thought on this.
No, fantastic. I think that was very well said. I mean, maybe just kind of going a little bit further from just the blockchain and kind of this type of technologies. I mean, one of the technologies I definitely believe is going to developing a lot is going to be energy storage, right? I think that's one of the ones whereby we definitely need better energy storage further from just production. And then there are loads of other different kind of technologies around energy, such as one that I was looking at the other day, which is kind of solar paneled glass. So we have glass everywhere. If you look at Dubai, there's glass everywhere, right? But imagine if you could power whole buildings just through the beautiful aesthetic that's around, right? Then you have others, right, such as kind of like food or plant-based plastic and many others. So I think there's a lot of innovation coming. I think there's a lot of structurally that needs to happen as well, but I think there's a lot of beautiful things for the next decade to come.
Okay. So, by the way, one of the biggest probably use cases, and everybody I believe heard and knows how is right now blockchain is disrupting specifically the financial sector, like traditional financial ecosystem, because it provides the alternative, decentralized. Although, you know, just like recently, and for this I also would like you to comment on this, there are suggestions not to call it decentralized finance, but open finance, because it's not 100% decentralized. Nevertheless, it provides really new opportunities with lending, borrowing, DEXs, which are decentralized exchanges, and it kind of really creates the new reality, which people are really embracing very, like, I would say really fast. Although a lot of crypto enthusiasts and people active in crypto would want more. So your views on this, taking into account the rise of DeFi and decentralized finance, how many banks do you think will be like still existing by 2050? Because a lot of people from banking, like traditional banks, they're like leaving their jobs and they're looking for other jobs.
I can't guarantee you how those banks would be in 2050. All I can tell you is that they'll have nothing to do with what they're doing today.
You have nothing to do with what?
With what they're doing today. Right? One that might be there and that I'm sure will be there in 2050 is Ubuntu Tribe. Why? Because we leverage assets from underground and we collateralize and we democratize access to those assets, starting with our gold international fungible token, which is called GIFT. The key thing, remember how finance is structured. It's based on two things: asymmetry of information and collateral, right? I think something, you think different, and the price evolves. And if I give you money, I need something that is tangible, that I can lend you against. That's why having a gold bag that is stable, we're going definitely to the gold bag standard. Think of BlackRock, who announced tokenization of gold, or UBS, who did the same. Now, what is powerful is not decentralized finance, it's distributed finance. Because if you make gold accessible from as low as 5 cents for anyone on the planet who has a mobile phone, then they have a collateral where they can start borrowing money against, or even put on a DeFi pool, like Fluidify, etc., to generate more returns. And this is very important. So money is now going to be distributed. So the banks, as you know them, can't even keep those kind of returns that you see on DeFi platforms. So they have two options: die, survive, buy.
Well, so they missed the train in this perspective.
Yeah. But Ubuntu Tribe, watch it in 2050. Please record this and we'll make an appointment.
Yeah, in 2050, probably I will definitely myself, I would want to watch it.
And we'll definitely still be in blockchain
journalism. In my case, that's for sure. I can definitely say. I actually got into blockchain as a journalist, but this is a different story. Sheraz, your views?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And actually, you're talking about interest rates. I mean, I was just speaking with my Swiss bank, and they want to charge me negative interest rates now, which is actually quite absurd, which you look at everything happening in the DeFi world. And I think it's really interesting what you're doing with Ubuntu Tribe as well. I think it really depends as well on the stability of the collateral's assets, but we can have a further conversation about that. Maybe if I give you some perspective from the Swiss ecosystem, right? So it's known as, let's say, the home to many banks, and I've had the great pleasure to speak to many C-level executives of some very large banks. And so they're quite actually lost with regards to what's happening. They're not too sure. They have a lot of capital that they're managing at the moment, and they're not too sure really where to place it and what to do. And that's why they're trying to take actually money from the people giving their money, because they need to get some returns somewhere. From their perspective, well, one, they are looking to explore this space more and more, and so we have the great pleasure to be able to support them in opening their eyes, a little bit like Plato's cave, kind of bringing them outdoors and showing them what reality and what innovation has brought today. But they see themselves definitely differently. Actually, coming to Mamadou's point, they themselves see themselves differently in 30 years down the line. So I definitely believe they will be there. They have enough capital to be there, to be honest. But they will have a different function. They definitely believe that they're going to downsize, incredibly so. I mean, if you look at big banks such as like UBS, Credit Suisse, etc., they have so many people in the front end that. I mean, I don't want to say that they have redundant jobs, but it's like there are a lot of machines nowadays that can really do that, and we're just kind of there, just kind of paying for not too much of a reason. So they themselves, from the C-suite, they know that they're going to downsize dramatically to what they are, and then put that capital into places whereby they can specialize. I definitely believe, even with the technology that we have today, not everybody wants to take the keys into their own hands. They want trusted parties, and I think banks, at least Swiss banks, are seen as trusted parties. So a lot of people will still go to these trusted parties, even if it's just a name. That name means something, and so there will be a lot of people that will go there, and so they will act as trusted parties. And so I definitely believe that there's that side of the coin to look at.
You know, just one thing to bounce on what you just said. You know, after I've been in banking for 20 years until I jumped ship, right? If you look today, the blockchain industry, it's $3 trillion roughly. The stock markets, etc., it's 50, and then the derivatives is $600 trillion. So there's still a long way to go. The key winner will be the ones who are capable of bringing institutional capital in, with the right level of security and the right level of comfort and access for people, so that you can really move all those trillions into the blockchain industry. And a company like Lux Financials, for instance, has built some very powerful platform with a money transmitter based in Isle of Man, first acknowledged at government level. So I think there's going to need to be a dialogue, right, between both, while we leverage on the unstoppable technology.
Yeah, definitely. If I may just...
Maria, what I think about 2050, that's ages in the world of technologies. So when we say...
but like, just imagine, because I already, and this is not because like, only just imagine what will be in 5, 10 years. This is according to data by Bloomberg, which claimed that, if I'm not mistaken, 75% of banks, maybe I'm mistaken, but 75% of people working in banks will be shrinked. I mean, like 25% will all be staying there. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe, but this is like what what I've heard so far. So that's why I'm curious.
If you ask me to speculate, I would say banking will definitely be there in 2015, but maybe not banks.
With CBDCs
that's because
or
banks,
crypto banks?
Well said.
Yes, that's because banks are being disrupted in 2 different ways. On the front end, they're being disrupted by those young, agile digital banks who are deploying fintech to make the user experience on the front end much, much more easy and smooth.
Okay, but won't they take control back with the central bank digital currencies? What do you think?
I'll pass the CBDC question to my colleagues.
Yes.
But if I had to comment about the future of banking,
Yeah.
I would say that on the back end, banks are being disrupted by DeFi and what it's called DeFi Legos, which is basically replicating each and every single financial instrument in a decentralized way. So you have obviously the layer ones like Ethereum or Cardano or Solana. You have the decentralized stable coins like DAI, and then on top of them, they're creating the full ecosystem. You have decentralized exchanges like Uniswap and Curve and Balancer. You have the lending and borrowing platforms like MakerDAO and Compound and Aave. You have the decentralized insurance like Nexus Mutuals and the decentralized derivative like DYDX. So all of this combination is disrupting banks from the back end. And here, I would agree with Mamadou by saying that banks, their only chance is to adapt and to embrace the new technology. Basically, digital Darwinism is unkind to those who wait.
Understood.
And if I may comment on that point, and just to play a little bit devil's advocate here, because it's always quite interesting. Darwinism, yes, but let's say animals don't have a lot of capital behind them. And banks have a lot of money, and they can easily buy out, not competition, but they can buy innovation. And you see this happening, for example, with the Deutsche Börse. We're talking about derivatives in the stock. Deutsche Börse just bought crypto finance, right? A hefty check, but they had the money to do so. And so they can buy into this space. And we see actually Binance doing the same, right? Binance is becoming, to a certain extent, too big to fail. They have so much capital nowadays that they can buy out so much innovation. And so, of course, when you have a startup, you have young founders, of course, they really believe in what they're doing, but it's very hard to not be tempted by that big check. So I would definitely say that banks, the way they exist today, it won't be the same in 30 years, but they have the capital to buy innovation, and not only to stifle it, but to buy it and to allow those companies to grow under their umbrella.
That's adapting. That's if you can't beat them, join them. I'm happy with that end result.
Mamadou.
So On the CBDC?
Yes.
So first, I'm proud. I'll tell you why. As an African, I'm proud because Nigeria is one of the first countries to have launched the CBDC.
Which one?
Nigeria.
By the
It's
way.
also, you have 3 African countries on the top 7 that are the largest users of Bitcoin.
What about Chinese yuan, digital yuan?
No, I'm speaking as an African.
Sorry.
Please.
Okay.
Right? And I won't comment on the Chinese one. It's, but although I'm proud about the Chinese one because it's 20% backed by gold. What was I saying? We're going back to gold.
Oh, yeah, the golden
You started it. It wasn't me. So going back to the, and Ghana is also coming to the party. So there's more and more, Africa is really starting to embrace that. And actually, it's somehow understandable. You know, when you don't have much to fight, a legacy system to fight, it's easier to start the new. That's why we were the leaders in starting mobile money, mobile banking. And at the time, I made the first investment in that space. Do you know how much mobile money in Kenya, M-Pesa, moves of the GDP? 40% of the GDP. So we've gone digital while you guys were still signing checks, right? So I believe that if we continue by pushing this awareness, so I've been doing a lot of advocacy work because it's all about explaining, right? I think the way it started initially in the industry with the maximalists is kill the banks. Now, yeah, possible, good luck, but I believe in dialogue, I believe in Ubuntu, right? And once they start to understand what's the value for them, then they let things happen. And it's very important to continue that. And if it can come from countries that you wouldn't expect, who embrace that and make the space, Ghana, for instance, right? We are partnering with the technology provider to have our gold stable coin and the payment railway with the ECD, which is the Ghana's digital central bank digital currency. So I think it's going to be leading by example. The same way as Salvador embracing Bitcoin, the more, it's always like that, right? And, but the big challenge that I see with CBDCs is the same thing. If you think sovereign in a world that is global, good luck, right? So some will use Stellar, others will use this, and again, where the power of this new generation of decentralized communities, etc. We think global. We are global. We are global citizens, right? Yes. And we don't think of village or community, etc. And that's what I think might become the biggest challenge. If they don't talk to one another, we talk to each other all the time. That's the power of communities and decentralized and agility. So they will be there, but I believe that among all those countries, you'll need an intermediary currency. Might be the dollar if they go e-dollar, might be the yuan if they go Iran, but I see both of them fighting. What about gold? Stable coin.
Yeah, for sure. And to finish our today's panel, because we lack a lot of time, we could discuss more and more, of course. I would like as well at the end for you shortly to comment the new disruptor which is out there, and it was mentioned not once today, is Metaverse. So from your perspective, the rise of Metaverses, and as far as I'm a journalist, I cannot but ask, how do you think the media and social media will look like with the rise of new metaverses? Will we also be watching the news as well as having our avatars and metaverse? Will it be there? And the same with social media. Who would like to start? Yes.
Yeah, I'll take up this one. Maria, I can remember clearly from the social media movie, the social network movie, Sean Parker saying, we lived in farms and we lived in cities and now we're going to live on the internet. I think now with the rise of the metaverse, the next part is living inside of the metaverse. And if you see Nike buying artifacts yesterday and people hurrying up to buy their own avatar, you can still have a little bit more idea about how the future looks like. When it comes to social media, I think the big disruption will come from decentralized Web3-based social media. The Brave browser, or using the basic extension token, are doing a great job there. And they are removing the need for you to share your data with those big platforms. and still keeping a way for advertisers to generate money. You are getting paid as a user for your attention, for your time you spend browsing with crypto, and advertisers can advertise to you without having to compromise your privacy and your data. I think that's disruptive. I think that's the future of social media.
Thank you, Sheraz.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe if I just bridge a few of the concepts that we've spoken about together today, CBDCs, Metaverse, etc. I think they all really revolve around control, right? And we need to understand that not all blockchains are made equally. And we're talking about like CBDCs or even Metaverse by Meta now, the old Facebook. There's really the difference between a private blockchain and a public blockchain, right? Even though maybe the underlying technology is the same, the ability of control or transparency being one of the three core pillars of a blockchain isn't actually the same. Immutability isn't the same, and decentralization isn't the same either. So I think a lot of people actually have come out and said that private blockchains aren't blockchains. And so when we're talking about some of these things, for example, CBDCs, talking about Nigeria, I mean, we have some colleagues in Nigeria. When there were some protests in Nigeria a year or so ago, they were paying, they were having to pay with Bitcoin, because when they were paying with their bank accounts, they were getting arrested and all these different things. If they were to pay within the CBDC, the government would be able to track them back directly, right? So then the element of freedom there is debatable. Then when we look at the metaverse side of things, I mean, if your whole social life now, the ability of Facebook, Instagram, etc., how much they can see into your life and to a certain extent control you through targeted ads. I mean, imagine if that were to happen in the metaverse, and even if you were to be connected through virtual reality or even AR, right? I mean, imagine the amount of, I don't know, even like subliminal messaging they could put into you and who you would become as a person. So I feel like we need to be careful to the extent of what these technologies are enabling, who they're enabling, and keep an eye on that side of innovation.
We need a Web3 version of the metaverse.
It's coming, actually. Yes, you know, I think people also need to realize that we're already in the metaverse, right? The one that we're going towards, it's an animated one. When you're on Instagram, I'm sorry, when I see those pictures, people create a digital identity, and that Snapchat, etc., edit, and with all the filters. And that's who you see and who you know.
TikTok.
Right? And this is your actual avatar today. So we are on the metaverse. People have already shifted in there. What will actually happen is leveraging on technology to kind of make it 3D and mix with augmented reality. But we're there. The main challenge that I see about the metaverse is people talk about gaming and all those things, but there is an extreme power in there. And as an African born on the continent, for education. It's extremely powerful for people who might not have the chance to have an Harvard infrastructure or the best Johns Hopkins medical school to just learn on the metaverse. Now, how are they going to pay for it? That's why we tokenize gold and make it available from as low as 5 cents. Because, it's only 20% or 30% of the global population who has a credit or debit card. Of course, there are tokens, but you need to still get digitally into that world. So I think the key winner in the early metaverse are two things. Digital marketplace, right? And everything related to education, training, because it's the best way to provide a level playing field. And those who actually will gain traction, there's only so many games that you can play, but everybody needs education. Yeah, simple.
I definitely agree, and maybe if I just maybe comment on one thing. Web3 metaverse, definitely, but at the end of the day, we need to understand, is it going to be adopted or not? I mean, us here, we would probably go for it because we understand what we're missing out on. Maybe those in the audience might, but I know that there are a lot of people that would just go for a Facebook, a Meta metaverse, right? Instead of something that might be giving them back more control. So it's one of those things where, okay, there is this other side of the coin, but are people going to be aware enough to adopt it?
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be in a metaverse controlled and surveilled by Mark Zuckerberg. But I would love to live in a metaverse, or my avatar to live in a metaverse that is decentralized, and the infrastructure of it is the Web 3.0.
Yeah, that's true, but there are much more choices for this.
Yes.
No, but the metaverse has to be decentralized. I'll tell you why. We don't talk about universe, we talk about a multiverse.
Yes.
So you can't have a metaverse that claims to be a multiverse. It's not possible. It needs to be infinite, fractally projected, right? The key thing, though, is how does this avatar moves from one universe to another, right? That's where also the question of the digital twin, right? And companies like Threefold that I was mentioning earlier allow these kind of things because you're going to have how many passwords, how many identities, etc. You want your avatar to be the same and your data to stay with you. And some of those technologies are coming today because it's going to be about data portability. Data is the next goal.
Yeah.
I mean,
thank you so much. And
can I just say one last thing? Is that I 100% agree. But we're just talking about acquisitions. I mean, Facebook has essentially bought the branding metaverse now through Meta. Like they have. So that's one of the things we need to be really careful of, I would say.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Thank you so much. Please give a big hand once again to Alaa, Dalghan, Sheraz, Ahmed, Mamadou Toure, your moderator, Maria Vovchok. Thank you so much. I believe next year maybe we'll also gather together and discuss the disruptors of 2022 at blockchain in Abu Dhabi. Thank you so much.